Thousands of protesters still on the streets, but can Egypt make it a million-man march on the presidential palace? Demonstrators are already gathering for what could be a critical day for the anti-government movement. Hello and welcome. I'm Divya Gopalin and you're watching Al Jazeera live from Doha. Also on this program, we won't fire on you. The Egyptian military to the people on the streets. But there are already fears of more violence with rival pro-government rallies being held. And the country's rulers still want to talk. They say they want to discuss widespread reforms with other political groups. It's 7 GMT, 9 a.m. in the Egyptian capital, Cairo, and people are gathering for what's promised to be a march of 1 million people. Anti-government protesters say they'll set off from the focus of the recent demonstrations, Tahrir Square, and then head to the presidential palace, where some are even threatening to storm the building. Let's now cross over to one of our reporters who's near the protest in Cairo. You're now looking at live pictures of Cairo. We're not naming her for her own safety and security reasons. Can you give us an idea of what the scene there is like at the moment?
Well, hello, Divya. The curfew's been lifted, so you're seeing a lot more cars on the streets. None of the cars are able to get to Tahrir Square because, as of yesterday, all the routes in have been blocked off by military vehicles, tanks on all corners. That's not stopping the hundreds of people just filing into the square. Certainly nowhere near the number that's been called on today, 1 million people. But at this rate, there's a strong possibility that they're going to reach those numbers. Microphones have been passed around. People are standing and shouting and whipping up people into some sort of excited frenzy. They believe that today could be the tipping point. Today could be the push that pushes this government to some sort of resolution that will satisfy the demonstrators. As you know, they want the president to go, and they want him to go now. To that end, the plan, Divya, is that they're all going to congregate at the square. They're going to walk to his presidential palace. They'll be passing the state television. There's a big security presence around state television, and they've had pockets of trouble there in the past because, of course, the state television is presenting a rather rosier picture of events underway in Cairo. And I think we really will see some sort of change or difference or play out of the army, the kind of tone that the army is going to take, where its allegiance really is when those protesters get to the presidential palace.
It is early, and as you say, people are still gathering, and right now we're looking at some army pictures on the side. Can you see the army actually taking, being any more involved in this protest, or do you think that there's a sense that they'll just stand back and let the people do what they need to?
Look, they promised that they'll stand back. They issued a statement saying that they won't fire, they won't take any action against the people, and they have been incredibly reserved all the way throughout this process. They've promised that they will protect the state and not the regime. That's what they're here for. The Egyptians believe that the army and the protesters are one. I suppose, the question really is, when the thousands of protesters reach the presidential palace and they're bearing down on the army, is there going to be a soldier who's maybe a little bit skittish, who by mistake opens fire into the crowd? Obviously, we hope that's not going to happen, but it's something like that that could easily unravel this. But at the moment, they appear very disciplined. They're certainly stepping back. There's some sort of police presence back on the streets in the form of traffic controlling officers. We haven't seen at this stage the feared riot control police. I've no idea whether they'll be brought out today, Divya.
Thank you.